Please subscribe my channel. The kitchen felt suffocating, the air thick with the burnt scent of toast and something sharper, more intangible, gnawing at the edges of my mind. Sarah leaned against the counter, her back rigid, scrolling through her phone with an almost mechanical precision. Her blonde hair, usually flowing and soft, was pulled up in a messy bun, stray strands escaping like frayed threads of her composure. I held my coffee mug tightly, the warmth searing my palms, trying to drown out the racing pulse in my ears. "Weekly love limit," she had said last night, her tone light but brittle, as if hiding something fragile beneath it. Only 2 nights a week, scheduled, planned, mandatory. At the time, I had laughed, thinking it one of her odd experiments. But now, seeing her avoid my gaze, the words settled like stones in my stomach. Her phone vibrated sharply against the countertop, buzzing insistently, but she didn't reach for it. She let it hum like a warning I couldn't ignore. My stomach twisted with unease. "Who's that?" I asked, trying to sound casual, though my voice betrayed me, rough around the edges, frayed by the question I dreaded. She gave a small dismissive shrug and muttered, "Work." The word landed heavily, charged with something unsaid. Work didn't text her at 7 on a Saturday morning. Work didn't make her cheeks flush the way they did now, a delicate pink creeping up her neck. I set my mug down with a clink that echoed unnaturally in the still kitchen. The morning light angled through the blinds, throwing sharp shadows across her face, and I noticed the faint smudge of mascara beneath her eyes, like she hadn't slept, like she had been elsewhere all night. The thought hit me suddenly, brutally, but I forced it down. Sarah wouldn't betray me. Not after 10 years, not after the whispered vows under the starlit sky, her trembling hand in mine. Yet the doubt lingered, a splinter lodged deep. "You okay?" I asked softer, stepping closer. She flinched slightly, just enough to make my chest ache. "Fine," she replied, clipped, her eyes still fixed on the phone she wasn't touching. The lie was sharp and obvious, cutting deeper than I wanted to admit. I wanted to shake her, demand the truth, but I remained rooted, hands dangling uselessly at my sides. The kitchen clock ticked like a hammer against my skull. I remembered her late nights, the vague excuses about client dinners, the lingering scent of her perfume in the car when she had supposedly been home all day. Desperate for normalcy, I opened the fridge, letting the cold air slap my face, and grabbed the eggs. "Want an omelette?" I asked, forcing a smile. No answer, just her thumb hovering over the unseen message on her phone. The silence stretched unbearably until she muttered, "I'm not hungry," her voice distant, as if she were already elsewhere. I cracked an egg too hard, its yolk slipping through my fingers. I cursed softly and still she didn't glance up. Hours crawled by, each moment heavy with unspoken tension. I watched her, cataloging every glance, every sigh. How she hid her phone under her leg when I entered the room. How she laughed too quickly at my jokes, as though trying to convince herself that everything was fine. By evening, the space between us was suffocating. We sat on the couch, a gap wide as a canyon between us. The TV murmured, some sitcom neither of us watched. I couldn't bear it any longer. "Sarah," I said, my voice low, trembling with the weight of the question I had to ask. "What's going on?" She froze, fingers tightening around the remote. For a moment, I thought she might brush me off, but then she turned, finally meeting my eyes. They were wide, glassy, haunted. "Nothing," she said, her voice cracking despite the words. I leaned closer, heart hammering. "Don't lie to me," I whispered, though the words carried a force I hadn't intended. She parted her lips, then closed them, pressing them into a thin line. The remote slipped from her grasp, clattering to the floor. And there it was, the flicker of guilt across her face, undeniable and raw. My stomach sank. "Who is he?" I asked before I could stop myself. Her breath hitched. For a fleeting second, I thought she might deny it, but then her shoulders sagged, her face buried in her hands. "Mark," she whispered, barely audible. My world tilted. Mark, her co-worker, the one she'd mentioned too casually, who'd accompanied her to late-night meetings and out-of-town conferences. Nausea clawed its way up my throat. "How long?" I managed, voice steady despite the chaos inside. She only shook her head, fingers clutching her scalp. I wanted to scream, break something, But all I could do was watch the woman I thought I knew. The woman who had promised forever, laughed with me through burnt dinners, held me at my father's funeral, transform into a stranger. Why? The word came raw, desperate. She looked up, tears streaking her face, and I glimpsed the vulnerable Sarah I loved, broken and small. I don't know, she sobbed. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to. Her words were blows, each landing with merciless precision. I wanted to believe her, to convince myself it was a lapse, a fleeting mistake. But the truth was sharper than any blade. She had chosen him. She had lied, hidden, and constructed a framework to ration a love she had already given away. The weekly limit wasn't about us. It was a cage built from her guilt. I rose unsteadily and moved to the window. The quiet street stretched before me, bathed in golden streetlight. Our life, our plans, our shared dreams, felt like fragile glass, shattered by her confession. Do you love him? I asked, voice low, not turning to face her. Her silence was agonizing, until a whisper finally escaped her lips. I don't know. That indecision cut deeper than a confession, revealing she didn't even know her own heart. Turning, I saw her curled into herself, a shadow of the woman I had married. Part of me ached to hold her, to repair the damage, to pretend none of this had happened. But the other part, bleeding and furious, wanted to vanish, to erase her from my world. I'm done, I said, my voice cold, alien even to my own ears. I gave you everything, my heart, my trust, my life, and you destroyed it. Her sobs were the last sound I heard as I grabbed my keys and left, the door slamming behind me. Outside, the night air bit sharply, but I felt nothing. Only the weight of her betrayal, and the piercing certainty that everything we had was irreparably lost.